Hello everyone, it's me again, and it's time for another crafting from home with the materials you have on hand, because we're on unofficial lockdown. I don't know what to call it, but we're here. We're at my house. This is my kitchen. Probably should have put dishes away and made things nicer, but you know, it is what it is, and we're doing the best we can. And I got a request from my friend Amber. Hi Amber, I miss you, I love you. So you kiss, but I'm awkward, so that was a terrible thing. And we are going to be doing salt painting today. But we're not just going to be doing regular salt painting. No, we're going to do complicated salt painting, because that's how I live my life. And what do I mean by salt painting? You've probably seen this many, many places. It's where you glue salt to paper, and then you let kids take watercolors or whatever, and they take, ooh, I'm faintly out of breath. Ooh, because I just ran up some stairs, because I had to tell my kids to stop playing drums, because you probably don't want to hear a bunch of drum playing in the background while this video is going on. Woo. Anyway, you take the salt, you glue it to some paper, and then you paint it. And because salt, crystals, water, water tension, water pressure, I don't know, there's science behind it. The paint will then kind of diffuse through the salt crystals, and it's kind of neat looking. I've done this before with my kids, and I've learned some fun things, some do's and don'ts, and so I'm going to share them with you. First things first, let's think about salt. Salt that we're mostly familiar with is table salt. The Morton's comes in a little canister, a little cylinder, a little spouty spout. Shake, have salt shakers, and that's fine. It's got a nice, small little granule. It will work, but it's also problematic. One is it's really kind of an uninteresting little crystal. It's real even. It's real small. It also flakes off super easy. But it's common. It's cheap. You can find it everywhere. You can also use canning and pickling salt, which is also super common, also super affordable. You can't really find it at the grocery store where you find all the other salts, like in the seasoning and spicing aisle. You'll typically find that salt over in the, like where you find jars for clearly canning. Sometimes over by the charcoal in the outdoorsy section. I use it for popcorn and like for sprinkling on tater tots and things, because it's a finer salt. It also doesn't have any of the fillers like iodine or the anti-caking ingredients. So I find that one, it's just a superior salt for sprinkling on things because it coats things better, it sticks on things better. Because I think the things that make it anti-cake, which means it doesn't like clump up real hard in the salt shaker, also makes it less likely to stick to our food. Or in this case, stick to our paper and glue. Like I said, regular table salt, especially for using the iodized salt, that stuff flakes right off the paper, and it's just a giant hot mess, at least in my experience. So also, I think it tends to look a little prettier because it evenly coats, and again, it doesn't flake off, make a hot mess. Third salt option, kosher salt. This is a kind of salt that you see on all the cooking shows for some reason. Well, actually, there's many reasons, but I'm not going to get into that here. Many culinary reasons, not a lot of crafting reasons. It's a chunkier salt. It's a salt that you see on like pretzels. It's a very pretty salt. It is also widely available. You will find that salt in your seasoning aisle. It will come in boxes, sometimes a shaker. Super affordable. I think it's a prettier salt. You sometimes run into the same problem as the other salts, that it will flake off and kind of make a mess because it doesn't stick very well to the glue. But I think it makes it's kind of, when the paint hits it, it creates more of a chunky glitter effect on your project, which you'll see later. So I like it. I think it's a good salt. It's a fine option. Now, if you are really into this project and you're willing to go hardcore on it, I highly suggest seeking out the ice cream salt, the rock salt. Oh man, this stuff once the paint hits it, it looks like gemstones because this stuff is chunky. This stuff looks like it has facets on it. This stuff looks magical. Magical. It looks like rock candy when you get the paint on it, and you'll see that. It sticks beautifully. I suggest when you do the gluing, you prep it ahead of time. And I suggest when all of these things that you prep it ahead of time, let the glue dry before the kids get a chance to, prep it ahead of time because you want this glue to dry and set because you are essentially adding water in the form of watercolors or whatever kind of paint you're doing. And depending on the age of your child that's doing this project, for some of the younger kids who don't really have good fine motor skills and self-control, they're just going to smear that paint all over the place and it will mix with the glue and then nothing's going to stick. Whereas if you give the glue a chance to set and dry ahead of time, then you give that salt a fighting chance to, stay in the picture that you've created. And I'll show you an example of that in just a minute. All right, let's get going on this project. But before I do that, I'm going to go shut that door because it's starting to make me crazy. Hold on. And we're back. All right, so let's talk paint. All right, we've got some paint options here. First paint option. But wait, you know what? Before we do that, I'm gonna get our examples here. We got our canning salt. Looks pretty good, not too much flakage. We got our table salt, and look at this. Look at that. Oh, that's a nightmare. That's terrible. And then we have our kosher salt. Looks pretty good. Not too much flakage. Sticking pretty well. And then, oh, get ready for this. This is good stuff. Oh, I need to get lower because we have our Rockstar ice cream salt. I mean, look at that. That's a beauty. That's good stuff. This is also a pizza box because you're going to have, and you're not going to want to reuse this as salt for your food because it's been glued on. It's been manhandled. I mean, yeah, this is no longer good for food, but it's good for like sensory stuff, I guess. I think you probably save the rock salt for ice. I don't know. We'll think of another use for that another time. All right. So, painting options. In my mind, anything that's water-based and kind of liquidy, you can use. So let's start with the original. Watercolor paints. Watercolor paint. This is the paint that my oldest brought home at the end of his kindergarten year. Clearly, these paints have lived. Oh, it caused me a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of stress to see how much these paints have been kind of smushed together. But you know what? That's what you do in kindergarten. All right, and check this out. These are the paintbrushes my kids don't normally get to use. They have their own paintbrushes. These are the mommy paintbrushes. We're using them today. So we're gonna take some water and we're gonna try a little bit of this, we're gonna use red. We're gonna try out the old school watercolor paints on all of these salts and see how they do. So let's start with the small size. Let's get real. You know what, this is not working for me. I want a lot of water in here. Let's really give it the business. There we go. Yeah. Show me what's what. All right. So, oh man, I gotta get lower. So we're gonna get some really concentrated color in there. Now we're gonna touch it to the canning salt and see what happens. Pretty good. Not bad. Now we're gonna touch it to the table salt. Again, most of it has flaked off. Pretty good. I think it's a good solid option. Now we're gonna try the kosher salt. Whoa, look at that. That's really spreading out like a champ. Now let's try the ice cream salt. I think the ice cream salt doesn't diffuse as much because the granules don't touch each other as closely. But man, I still am a firm believer that it looks the salt just looks super cool. All right, so that's option one, our watercolors. But wait, surely you may not have a watercolor set at home, because again, we didn't expect to be stuck at home for weeks at a time, and we're not supposed to be going out and buying craft supplies. So if you don't have watercolors, what else could you use? Well, maybe you happen to have some acrylic paint from some sort of other project you did. Let's try some super liquidy acrylic paints. Oop. We don't need much because we're going to make it super liquidy. So let's add some water to this jazzy jazz. And let's stir. Looks pretty pigmented. Let's see how this does. Ready? Let's start with our canning salt. Ooh, looks pretty good. I like it. I should have used a different color than red because now we're going to forget which is which. Let's try our table salt. Oop, strong contender. I have been known to use acrylic paint in a pinch for watercolors when I'm painting a watercolor style painting, like a viney style wreath with the word gather in the middle, something like that. You can use really diluted acrylic paints and that will work. And then let's see, let's try, oh, well that's delightful. So there we go. Diluted acrylic paint. Thumbs up. Now, we're gonna get super zany. What about a dried up marker? And we all have dried up markers somewhere in our house. And we feel like we should save them for some reason, but you can only rescue them so far. So we save them because we feel bad throwing them away, but then they just end up piling up. So maybe we can use them for this. So we're gonna take this, we're gonna dip it in the water, and then we're gonna try this. Sort of works. Let's try again. A little messy, but you know what? If you've got a little one with who's still working on their fine motor skills, who needs something a little chunkier instead of a skinny paintbrush, this might work. And you know what? It's a good use of this dried up marker. So yay. Thumbs up for rock and roll. Now we're gonna go super rogue. But before we do that, I'm gonna sneeze. Possibly. And we're back. Now we did this in class. And I'm a firm believer in making every experience a full sensory experience. So have you ever painted with Kool-Aid? Oh yeah. Now I'm not talking the sugary Kool-Aid because you're thinking, oh, that's a terrible idea. It's gonna be a big sticky mess. No. This Kool-Aid has no sugar in it. It is just citric acid, some fillers, salt, some ascorbic acid, which is vitamin C, and a bunch of dye. Also, stuff that makes it smell good. We did this in one of my classes where we did the whole baking soda vinegar thing. But one of the things that makes me crazy about baking soda vinegar projects is it just makes everything smell so vinegary, which is fine. But I, again, as we covered in a previous video, I'm a super smeller, and I cannot stand having my classroom smell like salad dressing or like a submarine sandwich for the entire day. So what I like to do is mix a little bit of Kool-Aid or, flavored drink powder. We're not gonna do brand names. Into your vinegar, because it's still super acidic, so it's not going to change the chemistry of what you're doing. But it's gonna make it colorful, and it's going to make it smell like candy. Your children will not be tempted to drink this, and if they are, they're gonna learn real fast. It's not delicious because there's no sugar in this. Also, you're gonna need to be careful. This might be an outdoor thing, or it will need to be a junky clothes thing, because this is all about staining. Remember when you were a kid and you always had like that Kool-Aid lip, that red Kool-Aid lip? because like kids don't really drink Kool-Aid like this anymore. They drink it in the pouches, but this is all about the staining. In fact, you could probably tie-dye with Kool-Aid. I should look into that. There's probably all sorts of fun Kool-Aid-y things to do. Because this is all sorts of safe. You know, you're not gonna, I mean, within reason, you probably shouldn't spend a lot of time with a bunch of red 40 and blue 1 in your life, but it's probably more safe than like a Sharpie marker in your life. But again, I should probably look into that. Anyways, an aside, so we are going to try using Kool-Aid. Purple's not a good choice because that looks like black. I'm gonna try a different one. Let's try orange. Orange isn't, ooh, but that purple smells good. Artificial grape is my favorite of the artificial flavors. Like grape Big League Chew, the smell of grape Big League Chew is my favorite artificial like fruit smell. It brings me back to like, oh, I mean, look at that color. Look at the intensity of that color. Oh man, it smells, oh, it smells like nostalgia. It smells like, we never really got Tang when I was a kid because I always wanted it because the commercials made it look so good. But this, it smells like orange drink, like the McDonald's orange drink. If you are of a certain age, I think you should do this just because the smell will take you back. Do it. Do it. Oh, sorry. Anyway, so let's try this as paint. Ready? Orange. Delightful. Probably doesn't work as well on the black. Now that is something we need to talk about. I have done this project on the black paper because it allows the salt to be seen a little more clearly. But if you want to be more of a surprise, surprise the children on what's gonna happen here. I don't need that. I don't need that. That's dead to me now. If you want to surprise the children about how this experiment works, you can use white paper or any other color paper that you want. I suggest you use something kind of stiff. White paper would also be good because sometimes, depending on how watery your glue is, you might encounter some bleeding of salty brine that bleeds into your paper. And on white paper, you won't see it. It won't make a difference. But on black paper, you will definitely see sort of this cloudy haze that will bleed into the paper and not look real great. Kids won't care, but if you're a crazy person like me, it'll kind of bother you when you look at it. Now, if you are the kind of person who wants to take this to the next level and think, you know what? I want to eliminate paper from the equation altogether. Oh, ouch, salt hurts. That rock salt really, ow. You can use hot glue. So in this pan, I just put a bunch of like the canning salt, and then I took hot glue, squidged it in while it was hot, kind of shook the pan around, and then I ended up with this, which is a somewhat unattractive heart covered in salt. So let's use the orange goo. So if you are doing it this way with the hot glue, you do not have to worry. You can not have to worry about the liquidiness of your paint rehydrating your school glue, your Elmer's, because this is essentially plastic, melted plastic. So you can really even just dunk this bad boy in the water. What you do have to worry about is the liquidiness of your paint dissolving the salt. So you want to make sure you don't use too much paint. So let's see how this is going to work. Take a little bit here, dabby dab. It still works. So that might be a fun thing to do with the children. If you didn't want to wait, didn't have time to do this the night before, get all the pictures figured out the night before so the glue could dry. If you want to do the same day, you could do the hot glue. If your children are slightly older, you can do it. Ugh, grape smells great, doesn't look great. You could let them do the hot glue. And it's just cute. So those are your options. Ooh, that fruity fruit just smells so obnoxiously awesome. It's just terrible in the best possible way. So those are some salt painting options. Look into it. It's super fun. It's super easy. You gotta have at least half of these things at your house right now. These are all really cheap. It's fun for all ages. Oh yeah, if you don't have paintbrushes, you can use the Q-tips. This is also a good option if you think your kids are gonna be like scrubbing real hard, because you can get these you can get these super saturated with the painty paint like this, and just go dippity tappity, dippity tappity, dippity tappity. It's all about the touching, not about the brush strokes. And that works too. It's a fun thing to do. It's a great weather right now, so it's a great outdoor thing to do, because there's far less cleanup. So get outside and get to crafting and learn more about the wonderful, glorious beauty of salt. Thanks for joining me.